I knew something was wrong the moment I saw my daughter's car in my driveway at 7:30 on a Thursday morning. Emma never visited before noon, and she certainly never showed up unannounced with two suitcases, and her 8-year-old son looking like he'd been crying. "Mum, I need to stay here for a while," she said before I'd even opened the screen door all the way. Her voice had that brittle edge I remembered from her teenage years when everything was either a crisis or my fault. Just until I figure things out, I stood there in my bathrobe coffee mug in hand, watching my grandson Tyler drag a dinosaur backpack across my front porch. The October morning was crisp enough that I could see my breath, but Emma wore only a thin sweater over jeans, no coat. Whatever had happened, it had been sudden. "Of course, sweetheart," I said, stepping aside to let them in. "What's going on?" "I'll explain later. Tyler, take your things to Grandma's guest room, okay? You remember where it is?" The boy nodded and disappeared down the hallway, his sneakers squeaking against my hardwood floors. Emma watched him go, then turned to me with eyes that held too much weight for a 32-year-old woman. "Brad and I are getting divorced." I set my coffee down harder than I meant to. "Oh, honey, don't start with the 'I told you so' stuff, Mom. Please, not today." The thing was, I had told her so. Not about divorce specifically, but about Brad's gambling, about the way he talked to her at family dinners, about how she'd changed since marrying him, became smaller, more careful with her words. But I'd learned sometimes too late that being right didn't always mean being helpful. "I wasn't going to say that," I said, which was mostly true. "Come sit down. Have you eaten anything?" She shook her head and followed me to the kitchen. This room had always been our neutral ground, the place where we did our best talking. I'd raised Emma here as a single mother after her father left when she was 5, and we'd weathered plenty of storms together. But in recent years, our conversations had become more strained, full of the careful politeness that creeps in when people love each other but don't quite trust each other anymore. "I found out he's been lying about the gambling," Emma said, sliding into the same chair she'd occupied for homework help 20 years ago. "He took out a second mortgage on the house without telling me. We're going to lose everything." I busied myself making scrambled eggs, partly because she needed to eat, and partly because I needed something to do with my hands. "How did you find out?" "The bank called yesterday, something about missed payments. When I confronted him, he finally admitted it. $50,000, Mom. 50,000. Her voice cracked. I knew he had a problem, but I thought he was getting help. I thought those Tuesday night meetings were actually AA meetings. What were they really? Poker games at his buddy Mike's house. I turned from the stove to look at her. Emma had my hair color auburn with early silver streaks, but her father's stubborn chin. Right now, that chin was trembling. "I filed papers yesterday morning," she continued. "Packed what we could fit in the car and left. I couldn't stay there another night knowing he'd been lying to my face for months." "But Mom, I can't afford a place of my own right now. My teaching salary barely covers groceries, and Tyler's school expenses, especially with what we owe in legal fees." "You can stay as long as you need," I said automatically, then caught myself. "But we should probably talk about some ground rules, for Tyler's sake and ours." Her face closed off immediately. "Ground rules? Nothing harsh, sweetheart. Just, this is still my house. I need to know your plans, how long you're thinking of staying, what you need from me, and what I can reasonably provide." "Wow." Emma pushed back from the table. "I've been here all of 10 minutes and you're already setting boundaries. That's not what I... It's exactly what you're doing. God forbid your routine gets disrupted. God forbid you have to actually help your daughter when her life falls apart." I took a breath, counting to 5 the way my therapist had taught me. Dr. Martinez had been very clear about this pattern. Emma and I fell into she would ask for help. I would offer it with conditions, she would interpret the conditions as rejection, and we'd end up in a fight that solved nothing. "Emma, I want to help you. I'm going to help you. But last time you stayed here, that was different. You stayed for 3 months, you never cleaned up after yourself. You let Tyler skip school whenever he didn't feel like going, and you borrowed my credit card without asking. I paid you back. Eventually, after I had to ask for it 6 times. Emma stood up her chair, scraping against the floor. Fine, we'll figure something else out. Come on, Tyler. Wait! I turned off the stove and faced her fully. Please, sit down. Let's talk about this like adults. For a moment, I thought she might actually leave. Emma had inherited my flair for dramatic exits, along with my eye colour. But then Tyler appeared in the doorway, dragging his dinosaur backpack. Are we leaving already, Mum? I didn't even get to see Grandma's garden yet. Emma's shoulders sagged. No, baby, we're not leaving yet. Tyler brightened and looked at me. Grandma, do you still have the bird feeder by the kitchen window? I want to show Mum the cardinal that lives in your maple tree. He's still there, I said. Would you like to help me fill the feeder after breakfast? Yes. Tyler dropped his backpack and climbed into the chair next to Emma's. Mum, can we stay long enough for me to help Grandma with her garden? She said she'd teach me about winter vegetables. Emma looked at her son, then at me. I could see the exhaustion in her face, the weight of trying to hold everything together for Tyler's sake, while her own world crumbled. Let's eat breakfast first, I said, returning to the eggs. Then we'll figure out the rest. The next few hours passed in careful normalcy. I made enough eggs for 3+ toast and orange juice. Tyler chattered about school and his friends carefully not mentioning his father. Emma ate quietly occasionally, correcting Tyler's table manners or reminding him to use his napkin. After breakfast, Tyler helped me fill the bird feeder while Emma unpacked their things in the guest room. My house wasn't large, a 2-bedroom bungalow in the Riverside neighborhood with original hardwood floors and a kitchen I'd remodeled 5 years ago with the insurance money from my late husband's life policy. The guest room was really more of an office with a daybed, but there was enough space for an air mattress for Tyler. Grandma, why is Mum so sad? Tyler asked as we scattered sunflower seeds in the feeder. She's going through a difficult time right now, I said. Sometimes adults have problems that are hard to solve quickly. Is it because of Dad? I paused my handful of seeds. Tyler was only 8, but he was perceptive. He'd probably heard more than Emma realized. What makes you think that? I asked. They've been fighting a lot, and Dad hasn't been coming home for dinner. Mum cries when she thinks I'm not looking. Your mum loves you very much, I said. So do I. Whatever happens between your parents, that won't change. Tyler nodded solemnly and helped me hang the feeder back on its hook. Through the kitchen window, I could see Emma in the guest room, sitting on the edge of the daybed with her face in her hands. Can I go watch cartoons? Tyler asked. Of course, the remote is on the coffee table. I waited until I heard the television come on, then knocked softly on the guest room door. Come in, Emma called. She'd changed into sweatpants and an old t-shirt from her college days. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she looked younger and more vulnerable than she had in years. How are you holding up? I asked, sitting down beside her. I keep thinking I should have seen this coming. The signs were all there, the late nights, the credit card bills, the way he got defensive whenever I asked about money. But I wanted to believe him when he said he was getting help. You can't blame yourself for trusting your husband. Can't I? Emma looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. You saw through him from the beginning. You never liked Brad. It was true, though, I'd tried to hide it for Emma's sake. Brad had a charm that worked on everyone except me, maybe because I'd been married to a charming man once myself and learned the difference between charm and character. Whether I liked him or not doesn't matter now, I said. What matters is what you do next. I don't know what to do next. I've never been on my own before. I went straight from living with you to living with Brad. I don't even know how to find an apartment, let alone afford one on my salary. You'll figure it out. You're stronger than you think. Emma laughed bitterly. Easy for you to say. You've always been independent. You raised me by yourself. You worked 2 jobs. You bought this house on your own. I can't even balance a checkbook without help. You think that came naturally to me, Emma? I was terrified when your father left. I had no idea how I was going to manage, but I had to because I had you to think about. That's different. You didn't have a choice. Neither do you, really. You have Tyler to think about. Emma was quiet for a moment, picking at a loose thread on the bedspread. Mum, I'm sorry about what I said earlier, about you setting boundaries. I know you're just trying to help. I am trying to help, but I also need to protect myself a little bit. The last time you stayed here, I felt like I lost myself in taking care of you and Tyler. I stopped going to book club. I stopped having lunch with my friends. I stopped doing the things that keep me healthy and happy. I didn't realize. I didn't tell you. I thought I was being supportive, but I ended up feeling resentful instead. That's not good for either of us. Emma nodded slowly. So what kind of ground rules were you thinking about? Nothing unreasonable, just things like cleaning up after ourselves, Tyler maintaining his school schedule, and maybe a timeline for finding your own place. Not because I want you to leave, but because you need something to work toward. How long do you think is reasonable? I considered this. What if we say 3 months? That gives you time to save up for a deposit, and first month's rent, maybe find a roommate situation or a small apartment. 3 months. Emma repeated the words like she was testing them. That's actually more generous than I expected. And in the meantime, I can help you figure out a budget, maybe connect you with my financial advisor. She helped me a lot after your stepfather died. Emma looked surprised. You have a financial advisor? Emma, I'm 57 years old. I own my home, I have a retirement account, and I've learned how to manage money. You never asked, so I never mentioned it. I guess I still think of you as just Mom, not as someone with her own financial life. I'm both, I said. I'm your mother, but I'm also a person with my own needs and boundaries and expertise. Maybe that's something we both need to remember. From the living room came the sound of Tyler laughing at something on television. It was a good sound, normal and carefree. I wanted to preserve that for him as much as possible. There's something else we need to talk about, Emma said. Tyler doesn't know about the divorce yet. I mean, he knows something's wrong, but I haven't used the word divorce. What are you waiting for? I keep hoping Brad will get his act together. Maybe go to real AA meetings this time, get counselling for the gambling. Maybe we won't have to get divorced. I bit back my first response, which was that Brad had had plenty of chances already. What does your lawyer say? She says I should focus on protecting Tyler and myself financially. She says Brad needs to hit rock bottom before he'll really change, and I shouldn't wait around for that to happen. Sounds like good advice. It is. I wanted Tyler to have the family I never had. 2 parents, a stable home, all that stuff. Tyler has you, and he has me. That's not nothing. Emma reached over and squeezed my hand. You're right. I know you're right. It's just hard to let go of the picture I had in my head. Pictures in our heads rarely match reality. Trust me on that one. We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, listening to Tyler's cartoon and the sound of birds at the feeder outside the window. I was already mentally rearranging my schedule to accommodate Emma and Tyler's presence. Book club was Tuesday evenings, but I could probably bring Tyler along sometimes. The other women would enjoy meeting him. My volunteer shift at the food bank was Thursday mornings, but Emma would be at work then anyway. Mom, Emma said, thank you for letting us stay, for being patient with me, for not saying I told you so about Brad. You're welcome. But Emma, I need you to understand something. I love you and Tyler more than anything, but I can't fix this for you. I can support you while you fix it yourself, but I can't do the work. I understand. Do you? Because last time you seemed to expect me to solve all your problems, find you a job, watch Tyler, while you went out with friends, pay for groceries and gas. I became your mother instead of Tyler's grandmother, and that wasn't fair to any of us. Emma flinched slightly, but she didn't argue. You're right. I was still acting like a teenager instead of a grown woman with responsibilities. I won't do that this time. I hope not, because I won't enable it this time. I love you too much to let you stay dependent on me. What does that mean exactly? It means if you don't follow through on looking for your own place, I'll give you a deadline. If you don't contribute to household expenses, I'll charge you rent. If you don't maintain Tyler's routine, I'll call his school counselor myself. Emma's eyes widened. You'd really do that? I would. Because I've learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to make someone else's problems your own. When did you get so tough? I smiled. Therapy, lots and lots of therapy. That evening, I called my neighbour Diane to cancel our usual Friday morning walk. Diane was 72 and had been walking the neighborhood for 20 years first with her late husband and then with whoever could keep up with her pace. "Is everything all right, dear?" Diane asked. "You never cancel." "Emma and Tyler are staying with me for a while. Emma's getting divorced." "Oh, that's rough. How are you holding up?" "Ask me in a week," I said. "But I think it'll be okay this time. We're both going into it with more realistic expectations." "Good for you. You know, when my daughter went through her divorce, I made the mistake of trying to fix everything for her. Paid her rent, watched the kids, constantly even lied to her ex-husband for her. It didn't help anyone. What changed? I finally realized I was doing her a disservice. She needed to learn how to handle her own life, and I was preventing that by jumping in to rescue her all the time. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid this time. It's hard, though. Our instinct is to protect our children even when they're adults." "Especially when they're adults," I said. "But I'm learning there's a difference between protecting and enabling." After I hung up with Diane, I found Emma in the kitchen making grilled cheese sandwiches for dinner. Tyler was setting the table, carefully arranging the napkins the way I'd taught him. "This looks perfect," I said. "What can I do to help me?" "Just sit down," Emma said. "You've done enough for one day. We ate dinner together, the three of us, around my small kitchen table. Tyler told us about his new teacher, Mrs. Peterson, who let the class have a pet hamster named Einstein. Emma talked about her third-grade students and how they were preparing for their fall concert. "Will I be able to come to the concert?" I asked. "Of course," Emma said. "It's next Thursday at 7. Tyler, would you like Grandma to come to your school concert too?" "Yes, I'm playing the triangle in the percussion section." "That's wonderful. I'll definitely be there." After dinner, Tyler helped me load the dishwasher while Emma wiped down the counters. It felt natural domestic in a way that reminded me of the good times when Emma was growing up. But I was careful not to get too comfortable with the feeling. This was temporary a bridge to help Emma get back on her feet. "Mom," Emma said as we finished cleaning up, "I was thinking about what you said earlier about contributing to household expenses. I get paid next Friday. Would $50 a week be reasonable for groceries and utilities?" I was surprised she'd brought it up without prompting. "That sounds fair. And I was thinking Tyler and I could take over some of the household chores. Maybe I could do the laundry, and Tyler could help keep the common areas picked up." "That would be helpful," I said. "Thank you for thinking of it. I'm trying to be more thoughtful this time about how my choices affect other people." That night, after Tyler was asleep on his air mattress and Emma was reading in the guest room, I sat on my back porch with a cup of chamomile tea. The October air was cool and sharp, full of the scent of dying leaves and the promise of winter. My garden was mostly finished for the season, though I still had some late tomatoes ripening on the vine. I thought about what Diane had said about the instinct to protect our children. It was true, every part of me wanted to fix Emma's life for her to call Brad and tell him what I really thought of him, to pay off her debts and find her a perfect apartment and make everything okay. But I'd learned sometimes painfully that fixing someone else's problems doesn't actually fix anything. When Emma was 25 and struggled with her first teaching job, I'd supplemented her income for months, rather than let her find a roommate or move to a cheaper apartment. When she was dating the wrong men, I'd bitten my tongue until it bled, rather than risk her pulling away from me entirely. When she married Brad, despite my misgivings, I'd smiled and paid for half the wedding. All of those choices had seemed loving at the time, but looking back, I could see how they'd kept Emma from developing her own coping skills, her own judgment, her own resilience. I'd been so afraid of her making mistakes that I'd prevented her from learning from them. This time would be different. This time I would offer support without taking over advice, without insisting she follow it, love without conditions, but also without enabling. It was a delicate balance, but I was finally learning how to walk it. The next morning, Emma was up before me, making coffee and packing Tyler's lunch. She'd showered and dressed for work, black slacks, and a blue blouse that brought out her eyes. "You look professional," I said. "I feel more like myself when I'm dressed for work," she admitted. These last few months, I was staying in pajamas until noon, some days just trying to avoid dealing with anything. That's understandable. Depression will do that to you. Emma paused in wrapping Tyler's sandwich. You think I was depressed? I think you were dealing with a difficult situation in the only way you knew how. But yes, probably some depression too. Have you ever been depressed? I poured myself coffee and considered the question. After your stepfather died, I went through a period where getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. Everything seemed pointless. Dr. Martinez helped me work through it. I didn't know you saw a therapist. For about 2 years, it was the best investment I ever made in myself. Emma was quiet for a moment. Do you think I should see someone? I think it might help, especially with everything you're going through right now. I'll think about it. Tyler appeared in the kitchen already dressed for school in jeans and a dinosaur t-shirt. Good morning, Grandma. Mum, can I take Einstein's class photo to show my new friends? What's Einstein's class photo? I asked. It's a picture of our class hamster with all the kids, Tyler explained. Mrs. Peterson took it on the first day of school. That sounds perfect to take, Emma said. It's in your backpack. After Emma and Tyler left for school and work, I had the house to myself for the first time in 24 hours. I stood in the kitchen listening to the silence and realizing how much I'd missed it. Not that I minded having them here, but solitude had become precious to me in recent years. I called my financial advisor, Janet Morrison, and asked if she had time to meet with Emma. Of course, Janet said. Divorce is tough financially, especially when there are children involved. I've helped several women navigate those waters. Emma's never been good with money, I admitted. She needs to learn how to budget, how to build credit in her own name, how to think about long-term financial goals. Those are all teachable skills. When would she like to meet? I'll ask her and get back to you. Next, I called my book club friend Margaret, who worked as a paralegal for a family law firm. What kind of divorce attorney is she using? Margaret asked. I'm not sure. Someone a friend recommended, I think. If she needs a referral to someone good, I know several excellent family law attorneys, especially if there are significant assets or debts involved. I'll let her know. Thanks, Margaret. How are you doing with all this? It can't be easy having them stay with you. I'm being more careful about boundaries this time, I said, trying to be supportive without taking over. That's wise. I've seen too many situations where the grandparents end up enabling the adult children instead of helping them become independent. After I hung up, I made myself a proper breakfast scrambled eggs with cheese toast and fresh orange juice and ate it slowly while reading the newspaper. This was one of my favorite rituals, and I was glad to discover that I could still enjoy it even with Emma and Tyler in the house. Around 10 o'clock, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find my next-door neighbor, Mrs. Chen, holding a casserole dish. I saw your daughter's car in the driveway, she said. I thought you might like some help with meals. Mrs. Chen was in her 80s and had been widowed for almost as long as I'd known her. She was also one of the best cooks in the neighborhood. That's so thoughtful, I said. Please come in. Is everything all right? It's not like Emma to visit on a weekday. I explained the situation briefly while Mrs. Chen made herself comfortable at my kitchen table. She was one of the few people I trusted completely with family information. Divorce is hard on everyone, she said. When my youngest daughter got divorced, she stayed with me for 6 months. I thought I was helping, but I think I made it harder for her to become independent. How so? I did everything for her: cooking, cleaning, watching the children. She didn't have to figure out how to manage on her own because I was managing everything. When she finally moved out, she was no better prepared than when she'd moved in. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid this time. Good for you. It's harder to watch them struggle, but sometimes struggle is what teaches them to be strong. Mrs. Chen's casserole turned out to be perfect timing. When Emma and Tyler came home that afternoon, I was able to put dinner on the table without any fuss, which left us time to talk about their day. How was school? I asked Tyler. Good. Mrs. Peterson said I could be the line leader tomorrow, and we got to pet Einstein during science time. What about you? I asked Emma. Actually, it was a good day. The kids were excited about the concert next week, and my principal said she'd write me a recommendation letter for the apartment applications. That's wonderful. Speaking of which, I made some calls today. I told her about Janet Morrison and Margaret's offer to recommend divorce attorneys. You didn't have to do that, Emma said, but she looked grateful rather than annoyed. I wanted to help, but these are just resources you'll make your own decisions about whether to use them. I'd like to meet with your financial advisor. My attorney is actually pretty good, but she's expensive. It might be worth getting a second opinion from one of Margaret's recommendations. I'll give you their contact information after dinner. That evening, after Tyler was in bed, Emma and I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, looking at apartment listings online. This is depressing, Emma said, after we'd scrolled through dozens of options. Everything I can afford is either too far from Tyler's school or in neighborhoods I don't feel safe in. What about roommate situations? I suggested. There might be other single mothers looking to share expenses. I've thought about that, but it's hard to know if someone would be good around Tyler. What if they have boyfriends over all the time, or they're not reliable about things like noise and cleanliness? Those are valid concerns, but you might find someone wonderful too, another teacher maybe, or a nurse who works different hours than you do. We found a few promising leads, and Emma bookmarked them to follow up on later. Mom, she said as we closed the laptop, I've been thinking about what you said yesterday about therapy. Do you think Dr. Martinez would see me, or would I need to find someone else? She might see you, but it's usually better to find your own therapist. That way you don't have to worry about any conflicts with my treatment. Could you ask her for a referral? Of course. Emma was quiet for a moment, running her finger around the rim of her tea mug. I keep thinking about what Tyler said yesterday, about how I cry when I think he's not looking. I don't want him to remember this time as me being sad all the time. Kids are resilient, Emma, and you're not crying all the time. You're dealing with a difficult situation as best you can. I want to deal with it better, though. I want to be the kind of mother who shows Tyler how to handle problems instead of falling apart when things get hard. You're already doing that. You left an unhealthy situation, you're looking for solutions, you're taking care of Tyler's needs. That's not falling apart, that's being responsible. It doesn't feel responsible. It feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water. Sometimes that's what responsible looks like, I said. When you're going through something difficult, barely keeping your head above water might be exactly the right amount of effort. The next few days fell into a rhythm. Emma and Tyler left for school and work in the mornings. I did my usual activities, grocery shopping, volunteering at the food bank, meeting friends for coffee. In the evenings, we cooked dinner together, and Tyler helped with homework at the kitchen table while Emma and I cleaned up. It was working better than I'd expected, partly because Emma was making an effort to be considerate, and partly because I was being more intentional about maintaining my own routines and boundaries. On Thursday evening, we all went to Tyler's school concert. The elementary school cafeteria was packed with parents and grandparents, everyone holding phones to record their children's performances. Tyler looked serious and proud in his white shirt and black pants, holding his triangle and waiting for his cue. "There he is," Emma whispered, pointing to the percussion section. "Third row, second from the left." Tyler spotted us in the audience and waved enthusiastically, nearly dropping his triangle in the process. Emma and I both laughed. "He looks so grown up," Emma said. "He's a good kid. You're doing a great job with him." Even with everything that's been happening, especially with everything that's been happening. Look at him, he's happy, he's confident, he's excited about school. That doesn't happen by accident. The concert was charming in the way that elementary school concerts always are slightly off-key, with several children waving to their families mid-song, and one first grader who cried halfway through. Tyler played his triangle with intense concentration, hitting every cue perfectly. Afterward, we waited in the hallway for him to find us in the crowd of families. "Grandma, Mom, did you hear my triangle part?" he asked, launching himself into Emma's arms. "You were perfect," Emma said. "I'm so proud of you." "Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" Tyler asked. Emma looked at me questioningly. "It's a school night," she said. "But I guess one ice cream cone won't hurt." "Let's go," I said. "My treat." We drove to the Dairy Queen on Main Street, the same one where I'd taken Emma for ice cream after her school concerts 25 years ago. Tyler ordered a chocolate-dipped cone, Emma got a small vanilla soft serve, and I had a hot fudge sundae. "This place hasn't changed at all," Emma said, looking around at the red and white checkered walls and vintage signs. "Some things shouldn't change," I said. "Some traditions are worth keeping." "Will this be a tradition now?" Tyler asked. "Ice cream after every concert?" "We'll see," Emma said. "Traditions have to develop naturally. You can't force them, like how Grandma and I always fill the bird feeder together on Sunday mornings." "Exactly like that," I said. On the drive home, Tyler fell asleep in the back seat, his head lolling against the window. Emma glanced back at him and smiled. "He's adjusting better than I thought he would," she said. "Kids adapt faster than adults do usually. I'm worried about how he'll react when I tell him about the divorce. He keeps asking when Daddy's coming to visit." "What do you tell him?" "That Daddy's working through some problems and we'll talk about visiting later, but I can't keep putting it off much longer." "Do you want me to be there when you tell him?" Emma considered this. "Maybe. I'm afraid I'll start crying and make it worse for him. Tyler has seen you cry before. It won't traumatize him to see that this makes you sad. I don't want him to think it's his fault." "He won't if you're clear about why it's happening." We pulled into my driveway and Emma gently woke Tyler up. He stumbled sleepily into the house and barely managed to brush his teeth before falling into bed on his air mattress. "Good night, buddy," Emma whispered, kissing his forehead. "Good night, Mom. Good night, Grandma. Thank you for coming to my concert." "Thank you for inviting us," I said. Later, as Emma and I cleaned up the kitchen, she said, "I called that therapist Dr. Martinez recommended. I have an appointment next Tuesday." "That's great. How do you feel about it?" "Nervous, but also relieved maybe, like I'm finally doing something proactive instead of just reacting to everything that happens." "That's exactly what it is. Therapy isn't about fixing what's wrong with you, it's about developing better tools for handling life." "Is that what it did for you?" "Among other things. It helped me understand the difference between being helpful and being controlling, between supporting someone and enabling them." Emma paused in wiping down the counters. "Do you think I'm controlling with Tyler? I mean, no more than any parent. But you might want to think about how to help him develop his own coping skills for the divorce situation, instead of trying to shield him from all of it." "What do you mean?" "Kids need to learn that families sometimes change, that people can get divorced and still love their children, that it's okay to feel sad or angry about difficult situations. If you protect him from all of those feelings, he won't know how to handle them when he's older." Emma nodded slowly. "That makes sense. I guess I've been so focused on not traumatizing him that I haven't thought about what he might need to learn from this experience. It's a balance. You want to protect him from adult problems, but you also want to give him age-appropriate information and skills. Maybe that's something I can talk to the therapist about." "Good idea." The next week brought several developments. Emma met with Janet Morrison and came home with a detailed budget worksheet and a plan for building her credit score. She also met with one of Margaret's attorney recommendations and decided to switch lawyers. "The new attorney is more expensive per hour," Emma explained, "but she thinks she can get everything resolved faster, which will save money in the long run." "What does that mean for the timeline?" I asked. "She thinks we can have the divorce finalized within 6 months, maybe sooner, if Brad cooperates with the asset division." "And if he doesn't cooperate? Then it could take longer and cost more, but she's confident we can protect the house from the gambling debts if we move quickly." Emma had also found a potential roommate situation, a kindergarten teacher named Sarah, who was looking for someone to share a 2-bedroom apartment near Tyler's school. "I'm meeting her for coffee on Saturday," Emma said. "If we get along, she'll let me see the apartment." "That sounds promising." "It is. The rent would be affordable on my salary, and Sarah has a 6-year-old daughter, so she understands about school schedules and kid-friendly rules." That evening, Emma decided it was time to tell Tyler about the divorce. We sat down together in the living room after dinner, Tyler on the couch between Emma and me. Tyler, I need to talk to you about something important, Emma began. You know how Daddy and I have been having problems lately. Tyler nodded solemnly. Because he doesn't come home for dinner anymore. That's part of it. Daddy and I have decided that we can't live together anymore. We're getting something called a divorce. What's a divorce? It means that Daddy and I won't be married anymore, and we'll live in different houses. You'll live with me, but you'll still be able to visit Daddy. Tyler was quiet for a long moment, absorbing this information. Is it because of me? No, sweetheart. Absolutely not. This is a grown-up problem between Daddy and me. It has nothing to do with you, and it's not your fault at all. But I was bad sometimes. I didn't clean my room when Daddy asked. Emma pulled Tyler closer. Tyler, listen to me very carefully. This is not about anything you did or didn't do. Sometimes grown-ups just can't figure out how to solve their problems together, and they decide it's better to live apart. Will Daddy still love me? Daddy will always love you. The divorce doesn't change that at all. Tyler leaned against Emma's shoulder thinking, can I still have sleepovers at Daddy's house? We'll work out a schedule so you can spend time with Daddy regularly. It might take a little while to figure out all the details, but yes, you'll still see him. What about Grandma? Will I still get to see Grandma? Of course, I said. I'm not going anywhere. You'll always be my grandson no matter what happens between your parents. Tyler seemed satisfied with these answers, but I could see the wheels turning in his 8-year-old mind processing this new reality. Can I ask questions later if I think of them? He said. You can ask questions any time, Emma said, and if I don't know the answer, we'll figure it out together. Okay. Tyler was quiet for another moment, then looked up at Emma. Mom, are you sad about the divorce? Emma's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed steady. Yes, I am sad. Divorce is always sad, even when it's the right thing to do. But I'm not sad about having you, and I'm not sad about the good things in our life. Like living with Grandma and going to concerts and eating ice cream. Exactly like that. Tyler nodded and snuggled closer to Emma. I'm sad too, but I'm not scared. Why aren't you scared? I asked. Because you and Mom will take care of me, and I like living here with the bird feeder and Grandma's garden. Emma caught my eye over Tyler's head, and I could see her relief that he was handling the news so well. Tyler, I said, would you like to help me plant some bulbs for spring flowers? We could do it this weekend. Yes, what kind of flowers? Tulips and daffodils. They won't bloom until April, but it's fun to plant them now and wait for the surprise. Like a long-term project, exactly like that. The following Saturday, Emma met Sarah at a coffee shop downtown while Tyler and I worked in the garden. The October afternoon was perfect for planting cool and cloudy with a light breeze that scattered leaves across the yard. Grandma, how deep do the bulbs go? Tyler asked, kneeling beside me with a small trowel. About 3 times as deep as the bulb is tall, I said. So if this tulip bulb is 2 inches tall, we dig a hole 6 inches deep. That's math. Gardening is full of math. Spacing, depth, timing, it all involves numbers. Tyler carefully measured the holes he dug, tongue poking out in concentration. We planted 24 tulip bulbs and 12 daffodils, arranging them so they'd create a colourful border along the front walkway in spring. Will I be here when they bloom? Tyler asked. That depends on what your mum decides about housing, but even if you're living somewhere else, you can always come visit to see them. I hope I'm still here. I like living with you. I like having you here too, but your mum needs to find a place where you can both have your own rooms and your own space. Why can't we just stay here forever? I sat back on my heels considering how to explain this to an 8-year-old. Because part of growing up is learning how to take care of yourself and make your own home. Your mum needs to practice being independent so she can be the best parent she can be for you. But you live by yourself. Isn't that lonely? Sometimes it is. But I also like having my own space, making my own decisions, having quiet time to think. Different people need different things. Tyler nodded and returned to his careful bulb planting. Grandma, do you think Mum will be okay? She seems worried all the time. Your mum is going through a big change, which is always stressful, but she's strong and smart and she's making good decisions. I think she'll be more than okay. What if Dad tries to come back? What if he says he's sorry and wants to live with us again? This was a complicated question, one that touched on issues Tyler wasn't old enough to fully understand. What would you want to happen if that occurred? I don't know. I miss Dad, but I don't miss the fighting. And I don't miss how sad Mum was all the time when we lived with him. Those are very wise observations. I think maybe sometimes people need to live apart even if they love each other. You might be right about that. When Emma returned from her coffee date, she was practically glowing with excitement. "Sarah is wonderful," she announced as Tyler and I washed the dirt off our hands at the kitchen sink. "She's funny and responsible, and her daughter Lily sounds adorable. The apartment is perfect, 2 bedrooms, a decent kitchen, and it's only 10 minutes from Tyler's school." "That sounds ideal," I said. "When would you move in?" "December 1st if everything works out. That gives us time to save up for the deposit and first month's rent, plus time for Tyler to finish out the school semester before making any big changes." Tyler looked up from drying his hands. "Will I have my own room?" "You will, and Sarah's daughter Lily is in 1st grade, so she'll go to the same school you do. Sarah thought you two might enjoy having a built-in friend." "What if we don't like each other?" "Then you'll be polite roommates," Emma said, "but I have a feeling you'll get along great." That evening, as we prepared dinner together, Emma seemed lighter than she had in weeks. Having a concrete plan, a timeline, and a goal to work toward had given her something to focus on, besides the problems she was leaving behind. I called Dr. Martinez today, I told her as we set the table. She said you could definitely see her for a few sessions if you want, or she could refer you to someone who specializes in divorce counseling. I think I'd like to try a few sessions with her first if that's okay, since Tyler already knows her and trusts her. "That's fine with me. We can work out the scheduling so there's no overlap." "Mom, I've been thinking about something else too. I want to make sure Tyler has some consistency when we move in with Sarah. Would you be willing to have him for dinner one night a week, maybe Sunday suppers, so it becomes a regular thing?" "I'd love that. It would give you a chance to have some time to yourself too." "Exactly. And I thought maybe he could spend one night a week here like a sleepover. That way he keeps his connection to you, and I get a little break to recharge." "That sounds perfect. We'll have to see how Sarah feels about it, but I can't imagine she'd object. She seemed very understanding about family situations. Her ex-husband lives in another state, so she knows what it's like to be a single parent." Over dinner, we discussed the practical details of Emma's moving timeline. She would need to save about $1,500 for deposits and moving expenses. With her teaching salary and careful budgeting that was achievable by December if she stuck to the plan Janet Morrison had helped her create. "I'll pay you the $50 a week for staying here," Emma said, "and I'll put another $100 a week into savings. That should cover everything by the end of November." "What about Christmas?" Tyler asked. "Will we have Christmas here or at the new apartment?" Emma and I exchanged glances. "We'll figure that out when December gets closer," Emma said. "But no matter where we have Christmas, we'll make sure it's special." "Can we still have Christmas cookies with Grandma?" "Absolutely," I said. "That's a tradition we're definitely keeping." The next few weeks brought steady progress. Emma's therapy sessions with Dr. Martinez were helping her process not just the divorce, but patterns in her relationships that went back years. Her new attorney was making headway on the legal issues, and Brad had finally agreed to cooperate with the asset division. "He doesn't want to go to court," Emma explained after a particularly productive meeting with her lawyer. "His gambling debts are worse than I knew, and he can't afford to have everything examined in public. Is that good or bad for you?" "Good, mostly. It means he'll agree to give me the house in exchange for taking on less of the debt. I can sell the house, pay off what's left of the mortgage, and use the equity for a down payment on a smaller place eventually." "That sounds like a smart plan." "It is. I never thought I'd be grateful that Brad was too proud to fight about money, but in this case, it's working in my favor." Emma also met with Sarah several more times and officially committed to the apartment. They drew up a roommate agreement that covered everything from cleaning schedules to overnight guests to how to handle conflicts. "Sarah is so organized," Emma said admiringly. She has systems for everything: meal planning, bill paying, even a chore chart for the kids. I think living with her will be good for me. Tyler had met Lily twice now and decided he approved of her. She knows how to play chess, he reported importantly, and she doesn't mind dinosaurs. High praise, I said. Meanwhile, I was learning to navigate the balance between being supportive and maintaining my own life. Some days it was easier than others. When Emma had a particularly difficult therapy session or a stressful meeting with her lawyer, my instinct was still to drop everything and focus on making her feel better. But I was getting better at offering comfort without taking on her emotions as my own responsibility. It's like learning a new language, I told Dr. Martinez during one of my sessions. The language of loving someone without fixing them. How does it feel to speak that new language? She asked. Awkward sometimes, but also freeing. I'm not carrying as much weight as I used to. What kind of weight? The weight of thinking I was responsible for Emma's happiness and success. Now I can support her without feeling like her problems are my problems. That's a significant shift. How do you think Emma is responding to it? Better than I expected. I think she actually appreciates having clear boundaries. It makes her feel more capable instead of more criticized. One evening in early November, Emma came home from work with news that changed everything. I got a job offer, she announced as soon as she walked in the door. Tyler and I both looked up from where we were working on a jigsaw puzzle at the kitchen table. What kind of job offer? I asked. Third-grade position at Riverside Elementary. Mrs. Patterson is retiring at the end of the semester, and they want me to take over her class in January. But that's your school, Tyler said. That's where I go. I know, isn't that perfect? The pay is better than my current job, and I'd have the same schedule as Tyler. Plus, I already know the principal and some of the other teachers. That's wonderful news, I said. When do you need to give them an answer? By Friday, but I'm definitely going to say yes. The only complication is that it would mean staying in this district instead of moving closer to Sarah's apartment. Tyler's face fell. Does that mean we can't live with Sarah and Lily? No, sweetie. It just means we need to find a different place to live. Maybe Sarah and Lily would be willing to look for an apartment in this area instead. You should call her tonight, I suggested. She might be excited about Tyler's school district. It has a good reputation. Emma called Sarah while Tyler and I finished our puzzle. From the conversation, I could overhear Sarah was indeed interested in exploring housing options in our area. She's going to look at apartments here tomorrow, Emma reported when she hung up. If she finds something she likes, we can still be roommates. If not, I'll need to look for something on my own. Either way, you'll be fine, I said. This job offer changes everything for the better. I know. I keep feeling like something must be wrong, like good things can't happen this easily. Good things can happen easily, I said. You've been working hard to make good choices and solve your problems. This is what success looks like. That night after Tyler was asleep, Emma and I sat on the back porch, even though the November air was cold enough to see our breath. Mom, I need to tell you something, Emma said. Living here with you these past 2 months, it's been really good for me. Not just because you've helped me get back on my feet, but because I've gotten to see you as a whole person instead of just my mother. What do you mean? I mean seeing you manage your own life, maintain your friendships, stick to your boundaries, even when it would be easier to give in. I never noticed before how strong and independent you are. I'm glad you noticed. I've worked hard to become that person. I want to be that kind of person too, the kind of mother Tyler can respect as well as love. You already are that person. You just needed some time and space to remember it. Emma was quiet for a moment, looking out at the dark garden where our tulip and daffodil bulbs lay dormant, waiting for spring. Do you think Tyler and I can really make this work, single parenting, I mean, building a good life without Brad? I think you're already making it work. Look at everything you've accomplished in 2 months. You've started therapy, found a lawyer, created a budget, applied for jobs, made new friends. Most importantly, you've kept Tyler feeling safe and loved through all of it. I couldn't have done it without you. You could have. It might have taken longer or looked different, but you have everything you need inside yourself. I hope you're right. I am right, but I'm also glad I got to be part of it. Sarah found an apartment she loved just 15 minutes from Tyler's school, and by Thanksgiving week, everything was set for Emma and Tyler's move on December 1st. The apartment was in a complex with a playground and a pool, and Lily had already decided that Tyler would be the perfect chess partner. I'm excited, Emma told me the night before Thanksgiving, but also nervous. It's been really nice having you as backup for everything. I'll still be backup, I said. Just backup that lives 10 minutes away instead of upstairs. Promise. Promise. Tyler is having Sunday dinner here every week, remember? And you can call me anytime you need to talk something through. What if I call too much? Then I'll tell you that you're calling too much. That's what boundaries are for. Thanksgiving dinner was just the three of us, plus Mrs. Chen, who had become a regular guest at my holiday meals since her husband died. I made turkey and stuffing. Emma made sweet potato casserole and green bean almondine. Tyler helped with the cranberry sauce, and Mrs. Chen brought her famous pumpkin pie. What are you grateful for this year? I asked Tyler as we sat down to eat. I'm grateful for Grandma's house and for Mom getting a new job and for meeting Lily, and for Einstein the hamster at school. What about you, Emma? Mrs. Chen asked. I'm grateful that Mom taught me it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to accept it. And I'm grateful that Tyler is handling all these changes so well. What about you, Grandma? Tyler asked. I'm grateful that I got to watch your mum become even stronger and braver than I already knew she was. And I'm grateful for the time we've had together as a family. What about you, Mrs. Chen? Tyler said. I'm grateful for good neighbours who include me in their celebrations, she said, and for little boys who remember to ask everyone at the table. After dinner, we played board games while the turkey leftovers cooled. Tyler beat all of us at Uno twice, Emma won at Scrabble, and Mrs. Chen dominated the chess tournament she organised. This has been perfect, Emma said as we cleaned up the dishes. Exactly what Thanksgiving should be. Simple and full of people you love, Mrs. Chen agreed. That evening, after Mrs. Chen had gone home and Tyler was asleep, Emma and I packed the last of her belongings. Most of their things were already in boxes ready for the moving truck on Saturday. I have something for you, Emma said, pulling a wrapped package from her dresser drawer, an early Christmas present. You didn't need to get me anything. I wanted to. I unwrapped the present carefully. Inside was a photo album filled with pictures from the past 2 months, Tyler helping me in the garden, the three of us, at his school concert, Emma and me laughing over coffee at the kitchen table, Tyler feeding the birds. When did you take all these? I asked. I've been taking pictures all along. I wanted to remember this time not just the hard parts, but the good parts too. I flipped through the pages surprised by how many good moments there had been. In the photos, we looked like what we were, a family that had figured out how to support each other without losing themselves in the process. This is beautiful, I said. Thank you. Thank you for everything, Mom, for the boundaries and the support and the example of how to be a strong woman. I'm not the same person who showed up on your doorstep 2 months ago. No, you're not. You're better. Moving day was controlled chaos. The moving truck arrived promptly at 8, followed by Sarah and Lily, who had come to help. Tyler was excited about the adventure, but also clearly sad to leave the house that had been his safe harbour. Will my room stay the same? He asked as we loaded his dinosaur backpack into Emma's car. Your room will be here whenever you come to visit, I promised. I might use it for other things during the week, but it will always be your room when you need it. Tyler hugged me tightly. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. I'll see you on Sunday for dinner, okay? Okay. Emma was the last to say goodbye. We stood in the empty guest room looking at the space that had housed so much change and growth. I know this isn't goodbye, she said, but it feels like the end of something important. It is the end of something important. It's the end of you needing me to take care of you and the beginning of us being adults who choose to be in each other's lives. I like that better. So do I. Emma hugged me, and for the first time in months it felt like she was hugging me as an equal rather than as someone who needed rescuing. I'll call you tonight to let you know how the first day goes, she said. Only if you want to. If you're too busy settling in, I'll understand. I want to. After they left, I walked through my quiet house noting all the small changes that marked their stay. The guest room air mattress was deflated, but still spread on the floor. Tyler's drawings were still taped to the refrigerator. Emma's coffee mug sat in the sink waiting to be washed. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table with the photo album Emma had given me. The pictures told the story of a family learning to love each other better, with more honesty, more boundaries, and more respect for each person's individual needs. My phone rang around dinner time. Emma's name appeared on the screen. "Hi, sweetheart. How did the first day go?" "Really well. The apartment feels like home already, and Tyler and Lily are getting along great. Sarah made spaghetti for dinner, and we're all sitting around talking about house rules and chore schedules." That sounds perfect. It is perfect. Different from what I thought perfect would look like, but perfect for us. The best kind of perfect. "Mom, I wanted to ask you something. Would you like to come for dinner next Friday? Sarah wants to meet you properly, and Tyler wants to show you his new room." "I'd love that." "Good. And Mom, thank you for everything, but especially for teaching me that asking for help doesn't mean giving up my independence." "You're welcome. But Emma, you taught yourself that. I just provided the space for you to figure it out." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen as the November darkness settled around the house. The bird feeder outside the window was empty. I'd forgotten to fill it this morning in the excitement of moving day. Tomorrow I'd fill it again, and probably some of the same birds would return, but maybe some new ones would come too. I thought about the spring bulbs Tyler and I had planted, lying dormant in the cold ground, gathering strength for their eventual blooming. Change happened slowly sometimes, underground and invisible, until suddenly there were flowers where none had been before. Emma and Tyler's time in my house had been like that, a season of growth that looked like endings, but was really about beginnings. Emma had learned to trust her own strength. Tyler had learned that families could change shape and still provide love and security. And I had learned that the best way to help someone you love is to believe in their ability to help themselves. Looking back, I realized that the most important gift I'd given Emma wasn't a place to stay or connections to helpful professionals or even financial support. It was the gift of expecting her to be capable of setting boundaries that said, "I love you, and I believe you can handle this," of refusing to fix her problems because I respected her ability to fix them herself. 3 months later, on a crisp February morning, Tyler and I stood in my front garden looking at the first green shoots of daffodils pushing through the snow. "Look, Grandma, the flowers are coming." They sure are, right on schedule. Tyler was spending the weekend with me while Emma attended a teaching conference in the state capital. These weekends had become precious to both of us, time for Tyler to be the only child again, and time for me to be purely a grandmother without worrying about parenting responsibilities. "Grandma, are you lonely now that we don't live here anymore?" "Sometimes," I said honestly. "But lonely isn't the same as unhappy. I like having time to myself, and I like knowing that you and your mum are building your own life. We're happy at Sarah's house, and Lily taught me how to play gin rummy." "That's wonderful." "But I miss having breakfast with you every morning." "I miss that too. But now when we have breakfast together, it's special instead of ordinary." Tyler considered this. "Like how Christmas is more exciting because it only happens once a year." Exactly like that. We went inside for hot chocolate and cinnamon toast, another tradition that had developed during our weekend visits. Tyler told me about school, about his new friends, in the apartment complex, about the book he was reading about volcanoes. "Mom says I can spend a whole week with you this summer," he said, "when she goes to that teaching workshop in Colorado. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to plan some special activities." "Can we plant more flowers?" "Absolutely. Maybe some sunflowers this time. They'll be taller than you are by the end of the summer." "Really? Really? Some things just need time and the right conditions to grow into what they're meant to be." Tyler nodded seriously the way children do when they sense that adults are talking about more than just flowers. Emma picked him up on Sunday evening, staying for dinner as had become our custom. She looked rested and confident, full of ideas from the conference and stories about the other teachers she'd met. "How's the new job going?" I asked as we cleaned up the dishes. I love it. The kids are great and I feel like I'm actually good at it for the first time in years. You were always good at it. You just needed the right environment to let your skills show. Maybe. Or maybe I needed to be in a better place emotionally before I could give my best to my students. Probably both. Emma dried the last plate and hung up the dish towel. Mom, I need to tell you something. Brad called yesterday. I kept my face neutral. Oh, he's in rehab. Real rehab this time for the gambling addiction. He wants to start seeing Tyler again when he gets out. How do you feel about that? Scared, hopeful, confused, all of it at once. What does your therapist say? That it's okay to take it slowly, to set up supervised visits at first to see how he does with real recovery before making any long-term decisions. That sounds reasonable. It is reasonable. I don't want to make the same mistakes again. I don't want to let hope make me ignore red flags. You won't. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago. How can you be so sure? Because 6 months ago you would have asked me what you should do about Brad. Today you're telling me what you've already decided. Emma smiled. You're right. I didn't even realize I was doing that. That's growth, sweetheart. Real, genuine growth. Tyler appeared in the kitchen doorway, backpack slung over his shoulder and ready to go home. Ready, Mom. Ready? Say goodbye to Grandma. Tyler hugged me tightly. See you next weekend, Grandma. See you next weekend. I love you. I love you too. Emma hugged me, last a quick, affectionate squeeze that held none of the desperation or need of our embraces 6 months earlier. Thank you for dinner and for listening about the Brad situation. Anytime, but Emma, yeah. You're going to handle whatever comes next just fine. You don't need my permission or my approval to trust your own judgment. I know, but it's nice to hear anyway. After they left, I sat on my front porch in the gathering dusk, watching the first stars appear in the clear February sky. The house behind me was quiet, but not empty, full of the memories and love that had grown within its walls. Tomorrow I would call my friend Diane about resuming our morning walks. I would volunteer at the food bank and attend book club, and maybe finally sign up for that watercolor class I'd been thinking about. I would live my own life fully secure in the knowledge that Emma and Tyler were living theirs. The daffodils would bloom in a few weeks, bright yellow promises that winter always gives way to spring. And sometime after that, Emma and Tyler would plant sunflowers in their new garden, learning to make their own traditions while carrying the best of ours forward with them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them discover their own strength, to refuse to carry burdens that belong to them, to offer support without taking over. It had taken me 57 years to learn that lesson, but I was grateful I'd learned it in time to give Emma the gift of my belief in her capability rather than my doubts about it. Love doesn't always look like rescue. Sometimes it looks like stepping back and trusting that the person you've raised or helped raise themselves has everything they need to bloom into who they're meant to be. This is a dramatized story created for entertainment and inspiration, not medical, legal, or financial advice.